Hey, Brian Copeland here. Be sure to tune in to this week's edition of Headliners on the Headlines, which drops every Thursday. This week, we're joined by comics Blaine Capatch, Matt Weinhold, and Karen Anderson. Among the things that we discuss, so we talk about what progressives should be doing right now to get ready for the new Trump administration. We talk about the dangers of anti-vaxxers and some celebrity encounter stories you are going to definitely want to hear. So, without further ado, let's get on with the show. Well, joining me this week, three old friends, and I can say old friends because we are. You heard the conversation before we started. Yes, we are indeed old friends. Yes. That's why you start with all the crap that's wrong with you. But I haven't seen any of you guys in forever, so it's wonderful to have you. Comic Blaine Capatch is here. You can catch him as part of the Nerd Poker podcast. Matt Weinhold is here, part of the Monster Party podcast, as well as other things, and the very funny Karen Anderson is here as well. She's a comic writer and a podcast dining with Doug and Karen. So welcome. I haven't seen you guys again. Where's everybody? I'm here in the Bay Area. I always like to ask where everybody is. Where was him? LA? Is everybody in LA?
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Glendale.
All in LA.
Glendale. Ooh.
Just bailed on us. Just bailed. So we were talking off the air again, as you do when you hit a certain age and you talk to people that you haven't talked to in the same long time. I call it the organ recital, because you go through all of the crap that's wrong with you, what hurts. I'm gonna have to have a nasal surgery. I just schedule. We all got something. There's something's wrong with it. And so Matt was talking about having shingles and how horrible it was. And I was saying how I had the shingles vaccine, and of all the vaccines I've ever taken, I've had everyone. This one, you have to get 2 doses, and the first dose, everybody tells me the same thing. It knocks you on your ass. Not as badly as if you had shingles for itself, but just the first one. Second one, I actually forgot I had it. I went in to take the second one. They looked at it and said, "No, you already had it." I mean, that's how insignificant it was in terms of, it wasn't even memorable. So here's why I bring this up is, you've had shingles and you could have, had the vaccine. I don't know if the vaccine existed when you got it or not.
No.
Okay. All right. If you'd had the opportunity to take the vaccine and you took it, you probably wouldn't have caught shingles, or if you did, it would have been a much milder case than the 2 months that you were out. So with keeping that in mind, my question for all three of you is how you feel about this nomination of Robert Kennedy Jr. We have an anti-vaxxer. We will have an anti-vaxxer in charge of our health. Who wants to discourage the polio vaccine, and it's just to me, it's scary. To me, we're talking about crap coming back. That, smallpox, diseases, measles, until you had anti-vaxxers on the left and on the right come out against the measles vaccine. That was almost a dead disease. German measles, almost a dead disease. Whooping cough, and I say almost dead because these are stories I heard from like my grandmother having had it. Now there, cases popped up like in Marin County and stuff like that. So just your thoughts on having an anti-vaxxer, somebody who is a vaccine averse in that position.
Well, I have an 11-year-old, and we just made sure that all his vaccinations are up to date, and we want to make sure that everything is copacetic with him before we do anything else. I mean, I'll be dead soon, so I'm not worried about myself, but I just want to make sure that my kid has it. I just think it's there's a weird sort of people saying that they're self-educated about stuff is just leading down a road of regression for a lot of modern science. And it's going to be fun to watch.
I like the fact that anybody will get their cats and dogs vaccinated against rabies so that they don't get it.
But, you know what? That's a great point. I didn't think about that. How many anti-vaxxers have had their dog? Well, they don't have a choice. I mean, legally, you have to have, but then again, who's going to know? Unless you're
who's gonna know? I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, I know somebody with polio. It's like she's in a wheelchair.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, my friend's mom. She's quite old now, but she's in a wheelchair. So
I've heard stories about if you talk to your parents or your grandparents, they all have a story about somebody they grew up with who was in an iron lung. at some point because of polio. If you have, grandparents who were alive during the Depression, and it's just, okay, well, Matt, as I said, you're the one that got sick and at a time when there was no vaccine. Your thoughts on Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Yeah, no, I'm terrified, and because this is really going in the opposite direction of where I would like things to go, because I am so the opposite of an anti-vaxxer. I'm like, give me anything. Give me whatever you got that you're testing, playing around with. If it's something that I suffer from, like hay fever. I would love. I used to get hay fever so bad that my eyes would close. They puff up and close.
Mine too.
So I couldn't see, and so I'm like, bring it on.
You go to sleep and your eyes crust over, and
they crust over. Right.
Yeah. Well, I had shots. There was no vaccine. But I was the worst when I was, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
And I used to have to go in during the spring and summer twice a week to get a shot in each arm. And it helped. It worked. It stopped. And eventually
who do you know that has had vaccines and then either died or got so sick from them?
No one. I know no one.
We're all different people from different lives. We don't know anybody. It's like, we believe in the science of it. I don't get these guys that are anti-vax, these people. It's very strange to me.
I hate to echo this little chestnut, but the idea that there are so many drugs and things that we take that we're so comfortable with that we've been doing for years that I'm sure if you looked at the statistics, there are some, adverse effects to, they always ask you if you're allergic to penicillin, right. But there are so many things like that. So the idea that these particular things now are the ones that are being targeted with really no science at all. I mean, it's pseudoscience, but with nothing to back it up. And that now it's like, I feel like it's Dark Ages time. Like
it really is. It really is.
Leeches and, bring it on.
Bloodletting. Well, there are people though, there are people who do believe in quackery, and people who really don't have any legitimate medical credentials, who are saying, again, like telling people to take ivermectin, the horse dewormer instead of getting the COVID vaccine. And they'd rather listen to these people than listen to doctors, because doctors are part of they're in on the fix. And it just makes absolutely no sense. A perfect example is because usually when you, at least it used to be, when you thought of anti-vaxxers, you thought of people who were uneducated or people who were in certain parts of the country. And then I was just shocked. I mentioned Marin County earlier, and that there's a Marin County here in Northern California, in the Bay Area, 6 and 7 figure incomes, people who are highly educated, who are part of a whole anti-vax thing because they believe a quack doctor who 20 years ago, with a discredited study, said that the MMR vaccine for measles and mumps and rubella gave your kid autism.
Right.
And what the deal was is that basically the age that you get that shot, I think you're like 2 or 3, is generally the age when, if you have autism, that's when it's diagnosed. And so they assume that there's a causation, a correlation between the time that you're getting the shot and the time that the kids end up with the diagnosable autism. But you would think, though, that being educated, that they would look at every legitimate medical organization in the world, World Health Organization, everybody. They've all said that the study's BS. It's safe. It has no connection to autism at all, and you can't talk them out of it. Forget it. You're not going to make my kid, have to do this to go to school, and I just, and that's the thing that's the worst is if you're so stupid that you don't want to vaccinate yourself or your kid, what about somebody else's kid?
Mm-hmm. What about the people who have the thing where if you get a vaccine, the vaccine will go to them by you being in the room. Remember that from COVID when it happened? What was that one?
Somebody was just saying that they're unvaccinated, and whenever they're on a flight with a bunch of vaccinated people, that they end up getting sick, and they wonder if they're getting sick from the vaccinated people. It's like, no, you're getting sick because you're not vaccinated.
That's the one, Blaine. Yeah,
I think a lot of people are there's this thing that happens where it's like new toy syndrome, where people hear about something and all of a sudden that's exactly what they put their finger on that. That's this new thing that I heard about. That's got to be the answer to all of our problems.
Yeah.
And then they focus on it for a little while. It's like the drones in New Jersey. You didn't hear about them at all. And now you hear about them all the time. There's all these theories to the point where the Congress is addressing it now. And it's just like, it's just new toy. People hear of something new and shiny. They focus on it for a little bit like a child. And then a month later, they forget it ever happened. Eating dogs and cats. I guess they stopped. And I think that's the thing. The thing with vaccines,
but
yeah. Well, they're delicious. I mean,
Where's
come
my
on.
cat?
Yeah.
Well, it kind
They
of
are
depends,
delicious.
is it red wine or white wine with cat?
Look how delicious this beast looks.
Oh my God, he looks he looks like caramels. Oh.
I'm gonna put him on my beast.
I want to eat his head like a caramel apple.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I want to dunk for cat heads.
They have Tootsie Rolls in them.
Let me ask you this. And this is a serious question. When you were younger, when you were a kid, did you know anybody who had? And I'm asking this a serious question because I was thinking about. I didn't know. Did you know anybody who had a peanut allergy when you were growing up?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so
that I was aware
what
of.
happened? Why, why is it so? I'm not going to say pervasive, but I guess maybe it will. They stopped serving peanuts on Southwest flights because of the fact that it's so deadly, and it is a real.
No, it's a real.
It's an allergy that's a real thing. That what is it, anaphylactic shock that you go into if you're exposed. Okay, so I mean, did something? Was there something in the water? Was there?
What's the
vaccine,
Brian? It's the vaccine.
The vaccine, yeah,
is what caused it.
I think they figured that it's just like smoking's bad for you. When did they figure it out? They figured it out that some of these problems these kids were having were from peanuts.
I think also.
I'm no doctor.
I think there's also
which means you can talk about this on Fox News with credibility.
Yes, right.
There are millions and millions more people now. And so there's going to be more cases, and there'll, I guess, a larger percentage of things.
Sure.
So, back when I was a kid, there were only like 5,000 or 6,000 people in the whole country.
Oh.
So, but now there's dozens more people, and so you're going to get more cases, and they're going to be a little more publicized.
Hey, maybe you guys can answer this question for me, which is, I remember back in the day where you'd see people with their vaccination scar, and it looked like someone took a spoon out of their arm, and you don't really see that anymore. What? I honestly don't know. Why was that?
I do know. And I only found out a couple of years ago because my grandma had it. It looked like one of it was like the size of one of those old silver dollars.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I was like, what the heck was that? And somebody said that was the first couple of rounds of the polio vaccine. That's the scar that it left. Yeah, because I was wondering, my grandmother and her siblings and older folks, so who got it. I guess it was shortly after World War II, I guess, or into the 50s when we first.
But did they use a brand? Like what? How is it administered?
I have no idea.
It was like almost like you're plucking something out. What am I trying to say? It's like a
claw.
Like a sample
like
of
a brand,
skin or
like a
something,
stamp. It was like a stamp, and then they would inject in you, and they would take it out. And that's how shots were a lot too. I mean, we're all of the age where they had shots. Now it's like you don't feel a shot.
Yeah, it's compressed air.
Yeah. We felt shots, and we felt shots.
which, by the way, for whatever problems we have in the world right now, there has never been a better time to go to the dentist or have anything done. There's that.
My mom, my grandma, when my dad, didn't have a lot of money in San Francisco, and they lived there, and they would go to the free the free dentist guy, but he would say, well, it is going to cost like $2 to fill the tooth, for a cavity. And she would go, $2, just pull it. My dad has like 5 missing teeth because she's just like, just pull it. And, there's not like,
it was the depression. What do you want? It was like the depression when you
like $2.
Forget it. Forget it.
I just recently found out that, like, with dentists with the gold tooth, like, I thought that was something that was, if you were poorer, you got the gold tooth because, whenever I'd see somebody, they'd look like, I'd see somebody like at the, the junkyard who had a gold teeth.
Yeah.
And I found out that they're actually more expensive.
Why do
it's gold. Of course it's more
expensive.
It's
gold, but I know but like, it seems counterintuitive
symbol
to me. Yeah.
A status symbol, perhaps.
Maybe.
It became one.
I had a tooth made out of mercury. I don't know if that was a bad idea to request mercury. I just have horrible headaches all the time. And weakness, lots of weakness and shaking.
All right, let me just bleeds out every time you chew.
Let me shift gears on you.
It adds flavor.
Let me shift gears on you. This in the news yesterday. I saw the clip and was kind of like, wow. I'm wondering which way you guys come down on this. I will say I watched The View. I don't know if I'm the only man I know who watches The View, but I watched The View.
It's a joy to Behar.
I love her. I do love her. I do absolutely.
Okay,
so
I've sampled.
So Anna Navarro and Whoopi Goldberg got into it about how we should be dealing, how progressives should be dealing with Trump as individuals right now. Where what are we, 30 days or so before he is sworn in for his second term. And what Whoopi has said, I've heard a lot of people say, a lot of people on the left and a lot of progressives say, and that is, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, hug your kids, live your life, take care of yourself, take care of your family, pay your bills, make sure your checks don't bounce, and, we'll get through it. What's going to happen is going to happen. And Anna Navarro was like, whoa, hang on a second. This is a threat to our democracy. Now is not the time to be tuning out or focus inward. Now is the time to mobilize. And if you poll, it's not, so at least so far, as far as the opposition is concerned, it's not like it was in 2017. You're not going to see a million women with pink hats, marching on the Capitol. Most of the progressives that I know will tell me that they haven't watched any news, and I will tell you, I've stayed away from news. I'm a news junkie, and I've stayed away from it since the election because everybody's just so despondent and tired and exhausted and think, what's the point? So my question for you is, first of all, is Anna Navarro right that now is the time that to be focused on what's going on and to become engaged and to do what we can do to make sure that our democracy is not dismantled? Or should we be focused inward and, breathing and, dealing with our own inner health?
Well, can't you do both?
Yeah.
That's my view of this is, look, I spent most of the years of my life in a constant anxiety attack. So I get to this place now where I'm not a religious person. So all I really have is my now. And I just can't, for the next 4 years, just be constantly agitated because I will die. I'll have a heart attack or whatever. I will just be ruining my now. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to divorce myself from the activities of the world. Of course, whatever comes up, we'll deal with that. But I think it's okay to maybe enjoy some Christmas carols until the giant rebellion. It seems to me a pretty easy answer. And I thought that Whoopi actually clarified that herself. So, yeah.
Blaine, thoughts?
I didn't watch it.
Well, first of all, I want to say Anna Navarro is a fantastic guitarist, and I was upset to hear that Jane's Addiction stopped touring because Harry Farrell can't keep his shit together. But I do agree with Matt that you can do both things at the same time. But the thing that disappoints me as an old man and as somebody who's paid attention my entire life is I've always appreciated it when the government is something that I don't really think about. I like to be able to live my life and not have to worry. It's like if I'm on a plane, I don't want to hear the pilot up there the whole time on the intercom going, oh man, I'm getting sleepy, you guys. Oh, Hey, I'm going to try to do some barrel rolls. It's like, I just want you to do your job and not have to worry about the government. It's something that should be running without having to constantly be staring at it. Mm-hmm. If it was a furnace, I would have it replaced. If it's going to be this constant shit show, and it's just a shame that I remember when Bush was president, W. Bush was president, and I was still kind of young, and I was a real news junkie, and I would be like, oh, he's doing this today. Oh, Scooter Libby. Dick Cheney. We get really mad. And my wife just said, this impotent anger isn't doing anything. It's just making you mad. It's just taking up your own energy to get mad at something that you can't do anything about. And I think there is stuff that we can do about it, but I think at this point, it would be nice to sort of wait and see what their moves are. I'm not saying
they're telegraphing. They're not telegraphing. They're using a bullhorn when it's not paying attention. Well, what you said just reminded me of a bit that John Mulaney's doing or was doing after Biden got elected. And I'm going to paraphrase it. He's talking about, as a parent of young children, when you have a babysitter, you're calling. You're checking in, you're making sure the kids are okay, are they asleep, nobody swallowed anything, nobody put anything up their nose or in an orifice, everything's okay. But when you leave your kids with your parents, you don't think about it. Yeah. You go, you have dinner, you go to the movie, you come out, because they got it. You're not worried about it. And I thought that's the perfect analogy. That's exactly, because I spent 4 years, every single morning waking up with a knot in my stomach.
Yep.
Grabbing my iPhone, going, all right, let's see what the asshole's done now. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, every day, and it would just go, and it just being able to exhale for 4 years felt good. Karen, your thoughts?
Well, I didn't exhale for 4 years. I mean, he was still constantly in my face, and his whole regime. It's just insane to me. But also, I think the main thing, though, going forward is we just got to get the vote out. I mean, it's just wild how many people don't vote. And it's crazy to me. And, I tried. I was on a campaign trying with postcards, and you can only, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else. I know there's other ways to do it, but there's just half the country doesn't vote. Is it?
It's always been something.
People say that not voting is like their protest, but not voting when the stakes are this high, it's like throwing an empty gun at Superman. What do you think you're going to accomplish with not voting? It's just it's just throwing away the one thing that your taxes actually pay for.
And at least in Superman, George Reeves would flinch when the gun was thrown at him.
He would duck.
Well, like the whole world too. It's just, I'm like, you guys talking about how, anxiety ridden, you just worry about, the rest of the world. To me, it just weighs on me so much, and it's really, really, and I'll still look, I'll still look at the news and I'll still scroll. My husband refuses to watch the news. Like that seemed to be the thing that happened this time.
Yeah.
A lot of people said, I'm not watching the news anymore.
Do you know what? Sorry. One thing that I started doing, and I hope this isn't TMI, but I would wake up in the morning and my phone would be in the bathroom and I would sit on a toilet for 20 minutes and I would look at the news.
It only takes a minute and a half.
Yeah, a minute and a half.
The news.
Yeah. But it was just like, and then I would be in the shower going, oh, God damn it, he did this. This is happening. I get all upset. And now I charge my phone in a different room and I don't look at the news until I've actually gone out and gotten coffee and stuff. And my interest in looking at the news and getting immersed in that headset is gone. I'm thinking about my own day and other stuff instead of focusing on some bullshit that happened and getting upset at that.
But it does. But the
really
problem
helps.
is, though, and I agree with you, but in terms of it does really help. But it's being an ostrich, and that's what we're all doing. I haven't watched, MSNBC or Rachel Maddow or anything since the election because I know I'm just going to hear stuff that pisses me off. And Karen, you were talking about the rest of the world. I took a trip a couple of weeks ago to the Bahamas and went to Turks. I keep getting
Turks and Caicos.
Thank you, Turks and Caicos. And Turks and Caicos was under the UK territory that was under the auspices of NASA for many, many years. John Glenn splashed down down there, and and then when the military left, then the place started to fall apart because that was the entire economy. And then Carnival Cruise Lines came in and basically bought them. And so, they bring ships through, and the entire economy is based on tourism. So I was talking to this guide, born and raised there, who says, "Oh yeah, they watched the election very, very closely, and they were terrified about Trump winning." And I'm thinking, why? And they said, "Well, the guy says that what happens to America affects us. It directly affects our livelihood." How he conducts himself, what kinds of rules he decides to put in place or not put in place. So, the rest of the world, was not MAGA, was not for MAGA. If you went to certain, even in the authoritarian states, but if you polled, did a legitimate poll of the people living, under Vladimir Putin or any of these other clouds, they would say that they didn't want Trump to win either. So it is the whole world, but it's like you can't see. I'm of two minds on it. I mean, I am much calmer than I would be if I was looking at every minute of every one of these crazy ass nominees. It's basically, okay, what are you completely unqualified to do? And what department do you hate the most? Okay, you're in charge. I mean, that's really pretty much what it is that he's doing. It's every department you hate the most, and that you were the least qualified to run. Oh, I should mention this. Right before we came on, I read that they have voted now. A secret panel, I guess, has voted to release the Matt Gaetz report.
Yeah, there's a real keeper.
Yeah, and it's. Don't get me started. And again, that's why I didn't follow this. I didn't follow that the way, what they're going to do, what they're going to do. But there is going to come a point where we're going to get glued again, because we have to get glued again. If this man weren't president, we would not have seen over 250,000 Americans die from COVID. I'm going to flat out say it. Hey, had he not politicized masks, Operation Warp Speed was a good idea. That's the thing I will give him credit for. Operation Warp Speed and getting a vaccine that fast. But then to say things that discourage people from taking it, they say there are 100,000 Americans, according to Dr. Fauci, who's Hitler as far as they're concerned. There are 100,000 Americans who died who didn't have to die because of information that was in public briefings, public health information and briefings that the Trump campaign, or they were a campaign the entire time, the Trump administration took out because they thought it made the administration look bad. And so there are people who are dead. I know people I got a friend whose father died. I can say he's been on this podcast many times and talked about it. Ron Vai, a very funny comic, whose father went to his girlfriend's parents' house for Thanksgiving. Everybody at Thanksgiving caught COVID. Despite being told to mask, don't forget. No, don't worry, just go. It'll be fine. And she talked him into it. He went, caught COVID, and died. And if you'd had a president who was saying mask up, social distance, all the things you should have done, this wouldn't have been as bad as it was. And so it's because of things like this, I feel guilty about not being as engaged as I was before. But it's so much better in my mental health. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like. Go ahead, Blaine. No, it's like I've sort of just. Not given up, but like I've just gone, well, he won. They won the popular vote. They're going to do all this. They're going to, barely. They're going to do all this stuff. They've been talking about it for years. Just let them do it. Just let them do it. Do it fast. Do it hard. Do it as fast as you can. Get it over with. Show everybody what you're made of. Keep your word. It's you have 2 wishes left, you guys. Just do it. Let's see what you got. It's we can't vote again for another 2 years. I mean, we can be aware of it. We can draw people's attention to what's happening, but we can't stop them. Let's just watch.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, really.
But see, I can't. I mean, I can understand, having that frame of mind, but you can't. In 2 years, how do we know that they won't? And believe me, they're going to do everything between now and then, trying to set it up. Put mechanisms in place so that it's not a free and fair election. Remember, Saddam Hussein ran every couple of years, and it was like 98% of the vote. He would win.
What if he was just really that popular, though, Brian?
I mean,
what if he was really good at his job?
Yeah, that devil may care smile.
The thing that kills me is this as putting religion. These guys are so religious that I find it hard to believe. Like that they really are religious. Like, this whole Christian nation business it's like, it gives me the chills,
It should.
Yeah. It's wild that first of all, that they want it in schools, and it's just it's church versus state. We don't have, it's separated. What makes them think that we want a Christian nation? Who is this and who are they? I just don't know anyone like this.
Well, Christians are being persecuted, and so they have to speak up because Christians in Christiananity
yes,
being persecuted.
Right.
There's no Christmas anymore, so
there's a war. There's a war.
Yeah, the whole war on Christmas.
Do you feel weird saying Merry Christmas now? Do you worry about whether or not?
Sometimes.
It depends if I'm in a big group. If I send out a card, I'm going to say Happy Holidays because it's to everybody.
Right.
But, Merry Christmas, first of all, I'm not religious at all. So it's like, I'll say Merry Christmas because that's like, but I don't generally anymore, I guess, because the tides have kind of changed on that one. Not just because like the liberals say we can't, if you're a liberal, you're not allowed to say Merry Christmas, but I just think you should, just out of being nice.
Right. But if you ask most people who are not Christians, you can be secular and celebrate Christmas. I mean, I was reading a book about Jack Benny. He talked about how Jack Benny and George Burns and a lot of these other comics who were Jewish had Christmas trees and celebrated Christmas and everything else. And so it doesn't have to be religious.
Yeah,
but the fact that you feel weird about it, like I do. I have a Christmas solo show that I do called The Jewelry Box. I bring out every year. And I have a novella that I wrote based on it. And afterwards I sign books, and it's gotten so every one I sign, I always, would sign it before just to Jim, Merry Christmas, Brian Copeland. And what I do now is I always ask, is Merry Christmas okay? And the fact that I've got to ask makes me think, it's even if you celebrate a different holiday, different religion, or not one at all, why would you be mad?
Happy holidays. Yeah. Why would you be mad? Yeah. But happy holidays to me just covers it. It's like
it does cover it.
Yeah.
But I think there are two Christmases. Nice. There are two Christmases. There's the Christmas that's like the Jesus-centered Christmas. And then there's the pagan Macy's Day Parade Christmas with Santa Claus and Father Christmas. And instead of, it's less about the baby Jesus, more about, hey, I finally got that, SSP car that I wanted.
Oh,
I'm going back a little bit.
You just dated yourself.
Oh, man.
I never got it.
My kids each get an orange and an apple, and they were going to be happy about it when it's off, when they're not in season.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I did get the SSP Bang Up Derby.
I got that one for Christmas too.
Yeah,
well, that was maybe where they jump like a ramp and
yes,
each other. I had that. I got that as much as
possibly one of the greatest toys ever made.
You guys had fun toys.
Actually, you did.
That was fun.
The Hot Wheels with the loop and the whole thing.
I would just play with the box, to be honest.
Yeah. I did a bit of that.
Having kids and staying up until 3:30 in the morning on Christmas Eve, putting crap together for them only so they wake up and play the box. It's something that every father goes through.
I had to put a turducken together for Thanksgiving. Oh man.
Oh, I used to do that. I didn't put really? I'd buy one. I would buy one.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my God. I've always wanted
building my own turducken.
It's good.
I think Wanda Sykes actually did give her kids boxes to open with nothing in them.
Oh, that's nice.
They were tiny baby. They loved it. They had they're little.
Karen, that is such a great point, because I think that if we wanted to save money on Christmas, don't buy any child that's like under 3 any toy.
That's
just
what
give
her
them
whole thing
like,
was, yeah.
Yeah, just give them a really smooth rock, or just things.
Smooth rock.
Yeah, things that kids would pick up and bring home.
Yeah, they don't need to know.
When they're that little, it's for you. It's like
I have a little granddaughter who's 2 years old, and this is like the first year that she kind of knows what's going on. So I have been showing her, my daughter and I have been showing her all of those great old. Remember those Rankin Bass holidays?
Oh yeah,
like Rudolph. And so we've been showing all, and some of the stuff's kind of hasn't aged well.
You're absolutely right. Sitting on my lap with the kiss.
Yes, that was the one.
Yes.
Which
one's that?
Santa Claus is coming to town, and it's when
Pete Miser. Yeah.
And no, that's different. That's the Year Without Santa Claus.
Year Without Santa Claus. Oh, sorry.
Santa Claus is coming to town is where Mickey Rooney voices Kris Kringle. Right. It's the story of how he was born and the whole thing.
Fred Astaire.
And so he has this song where he's got all these kids. He snuck toys into town because they're illegal, and he's singing, "If you sit on my lap today, a kiss, a toy is the price to pay."
Yeah,
that's right.
Whoa! What?
Brian, we just watched that and we rewound it to just make sure that's what we heard. We just watched it this week. And it was like exactly what you said. You memorized the words perfectly.
And Mickey Rooney narrating it as his character from Breakfast at Tiffany's, I thought was kind of problematic.
I was going to say the Playhouse 90, the comedian, but okay.
Actually, it was an all-star cast. It was actually Fred Astaire narrated it, and Keenan Wynn was the Winter Warlock.
Sure,
and
great.
But those are good. We grew up on those. So I still love those
toys.
But when did Again, I ask these questions to my educated panel here. Does anyone know when the sitting on the lap of Santa became a tradition? Because that's right off the bat. Hey, here's a stranger. Sit on his lap.
Santa Claus is coming to town. No,
maybe.
Miracle on 34th Street. Miracle on 34th. I don't know.
Is that what it?
I think it was like you could whisper in the ear what you wanted. It was a secret, probably, and then
that's no good.
And then whatever that was, nobody was allowed to know what happened.
I'm going to kill my parents, Santa.
You can sit on my lap for a little bit longer.
Ho! Take the shot! Live one! Ho!
Sit on my lap, and I'll give you a toy. I mean, but that's
the price. You give me a kiss. The price you pay is a kiss, right? What was it?
Yeah. If you sit on my lap today, a kiss, a toy is the price you'll pay. If you sit on my left knee, don't be stingy, be prepared to pay. And yes, and that was during Christmas, and the rest of the year he drove an ice cream truck. So
I don't know when it started though. That is strange. And then as parents, you just put the kids on their lap when they're screaming. That's always fun to get the good picture.
to get that picture, because that's what you want to remember. This
everyone's
Christmas.
got. My sister's got all
screaming
her
child and a stranger.
Well, the fact that all the malls are dying, and they are. I mean, they're dying all over. I mean, the malls in San Francisco. That I'm just shocked. The fact that the major retailers are closing and going out of business. So I mean, I wonder if that's a tradition that's going to go away, because that's where we always saw them. We went to the mall.
Zoom on my lap, little boy. Oh, ho. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. Unmute yourself.
A Zoom lap. I love. Yeah, you have to copyright or trademark that, because instead of the Yule log, you've got the virtual lap.
All right. Don't worry. When Trump's in office, we'll all have Christmas will be safe once again.
Yes. Once again, and you don't have to vote.
Zeus willing.
Cthulhu.
All right. So complete shifts in gears. Okay, we had another mass shooting in a school on Monday. This time by a girl, 15-year-old girl who is only one of 9 girls who have carried out shootings over the past 30 years in a school.
Christ,
she's only 9 girls. She's one of 9. 3 people, including the shooter, were dead. She used a handgun. 6 were wounded, some critically. Some are those who are wounded might not make it. And in Wisconsin, it's Madison, Wisconsin. They're looking into the possibility of charging the parents of the shooter if it can be proven that they provided in any way, shape, or form their daughter with the gun. because on her mother and father have been, and she came from messed up circumstances. Her mother and father, think about this for a second, living like this. They got divorced and remarried 3 times. They got divorced and had a whole custody thing. Okay, you got her 3 days, I get her 2 days, you get her 3 days, and then they got back together and got married. And then they got divorced again, and she had to go through that whole scheduling back and forth thing again. And then they got divorced, and they did it the 3rd time. And after the 3rd time, the judge admonished them and basically banned them from marrying each other again. And so, anyway, on the dad's Facebook page, there's a picture of him and the girl at a gun club proclaiming how proud they were that they. Pardon?
Love Gun Club. They were great.
Wonderful gun club.
Fire of love.
And she's looking through a scope or something. So I've always thought that in a lot of circumstances, parents should be held liable if their kid, if my kid throws a rock and breaks a window of a neighbor, I'm responsible for that. I'm legally responsible. I got to pay for the window if the homeowner so desires. So you would think that if your kid, went to school and shot it up, that you would have some liability. So, any thought? Do you think that parents should be held responsible? I've always thought, like since Columbine, they were, the parents should know. Well, if your kid's making pipe bombs in his bedroom, we let him have his privacy. I just think that
privacy.
Really, yeah.
When did kids have privacy now? That's a new thing.
well, their parents are their friends now.
Oh, I see.
Unlike when we grew up.
Not my kid. Yeah. Oh, he hates me. We're bitter enemies. Bitter enemies. Like he made my hair fall out like Lex Luthor. Damn you, super son. Wasn't it the kid Ethan Crumbly in Michigan? His parents got 15 years each because they bought him a gun and stuff. And Kyle Rittenhouse's mom drove him across state lines with an AR-15 to kill 2 people. And I think that I would think that there's a legal guardianship age cutoff, but yeah, I think if you're an accomplice to a shooting, you're an accomplice to a shooing. Yeah. If you get your kid a gun, first of all, getting your kid a gun, why don't you get him some Hot Wheels or get her, SSPs or something?
Well, because you don't have a Second Amendment right for a Hot Wheel.
But
Ryan,
true. we banned lawn darts.
Yeah. I love that one.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous what we don't do.
More like loon darts. They're loony.
We just don't do anything. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that makes this different from a lot of these other shootings is that they usually are carried out with like an AR-15 or some kind of an assault rifle or something that can, have a large magazine. And she just had a regular handgun, and still, the body count wasn't as large as it is in some of these other cases, but still, you're talking about 3 people dead and 6 who are critically wounded. So, so what's the argument here? What's the debate? It's usually about, doing something about assault weapons. But when she didn't use one, I mean, what there are too many handguns out there even I was just thinking about even now that with a 3D printer, you are now able to print a gun. And these ghost guns that can't be tracked, can't be traced, and like the bank, the guy that shot the banker.
The United Health guy.
Not the banker, the health. Yeah.
It's really expensive to replace the toner in those things too. If you don't have cyan, you can't print out your AR-15.
No, and I think we should definitely get rid of FedExes.
Yeah, it's surprising that she didn't use an assault rifle. She used a handgun the same way Luigi Mangione did.
Yes.
And
people calling him a hero, by the way. If you look in the world of cyberspace, you have people who are calling him a hero for standing up for the little guy against the health insurance companies who they say are responsible. And Guy Obilum, who I'm sure you guys know,
saw me the other night.
Was on
still tall.
Still tall.
Still tall.
Guy, still tall. Sure is. He was on the show last week, and we kind of got into it because he was saying that the medical insurance companies kill hundreds of thousands of people every year. And I don't know, but you really you think that's accurate?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
by denying by what is they deny in terms of care, or they decide they won't cover.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that has been happening for years. That's why we are always trying to revamp our healthcare system and try.
But hundreds of thousands, Matt. You think it's that high?
I don't know exactly the numbers, but to get to the bigger point, which is whatever they did as an organization, we have supposedly still courts of law that deal with all these things. And it's not up to you to be a vigilante because suddenly you decide it was that guy's fault. And I mean, if he had shot somebody who was a little lower down the chain, would that, I guess that would have been okay too. And so, or somebody that works at the office. I mean, that's just absurd. The idea.
Well, the one thing that is a little, I wouldn't say it's heroic, but it's definitely got people talking about healthcare and what they're covering and what they're not covering. People are posting all over the place of what was not covered, what was told. They're talking about the workers who have to deny claims, and their mental health that they're dealing with. It's because they're just like freaking out when they have to deny somebody like life-saving care. And it's, I haven't heard this much talk about this in a long time. I mean, getting down to the nitty gritty like that, like the actual coverage of something, besides the cost of any healthcare.
I think they're trying to run the clock out on the conversation too, because the quicker we move on to something else, the quicker people will forget that there was a healthcare discussion, and they can get back to it's there's no need for a health insurance industry in the country, but it's a sad reality that we can't seem to overcome, no matter how much discussion there is.
There's so many people I know who are going to be in a world of hurt if this administration succeeds in dismantling the Affordable Care Act. And they have been trying to do it since the day it was passed. And again, here we go again with Trump controlling and the Republicans controlling both houses of Congress. It's just there are a lot of people I know we have more people covered now than ever in the history of this country. And for that to go away, there are a lot of people who are going to be sick or die or suffer or all three needlessly.
But they're not CEOs, Brian. I think that's the key. They're not CEOs, and they need to be protected. Money needs to be protected. It's when you see that. The thing that stood out was it happened the same time that guy that strangled a homeless guy on the subway was found not guilty or acquitted. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it's like you're allowed to kill poor people, but you're not allowed to kill rich people.
I was just thinking that. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm exaggerating to clarify, but
we
live. We're in a country where.
Let's be fair. About whether or not we're saying it's okay. He was indicted on 11 charges. He's not going anywhere. Interestingly, the death penalty is not on the table in that case. That surprises me. But they charged him with terrorism, crimes related to terrorism, and everything else.
He should be charged with terrorizing my pants. He's good looking.
Gary, you're incorrigible. We'll be right back.
How would you call it? Terrorizing.
So have you? I have to ask you now, since you brought this up. Have you ever written a convict ever? Like a letter?
Not that I know of.
You're not one of those who've written,
Did you hook up with one of the Menendez brothers on an email once?
I was reading those guys, the Menendez brothers and the Night Stalker and Scott Peterson would get hundreds and hundreds of letters from women fans, and some of them got married. Gotten married.
Looks like I'm going to jail.
I know someone who married a guy who got convicted of murder.
You know somebody?
Yeah, she went to go teach it's in Marin, actually. This person's from Marin. And they met, and he was he was going to school while he was in jail, in prison. And they got married. She would go for, conjugal visits and all that kind of stuff. And she fell in love with a convict, and yeah.
All right.
Is he out or is he alive?
No, he's out now. He was about 17 when it happened. It was a murder at a gas station. And, he rehabilitated himself. They did let him out after like, I don't know, maybe 30 years.
All right. So did it last?
No. So they got divorced. Like they were married for a long time though. And they got,
of course.
In fact, I just talked to my mom and she said that they got divorced like maybe about 8 years ago. She wrote a book about it too. But anyway, yeah, it's just, I always thought about it. I was always like, and that guy killed someone. Yeah.
Yeah, but with like Richard Ramirez and all these people, it's like, it always reminds me of the Bill Hicks joke where he goes, and I can't get laid.
Did you guys watch the Menendez thing on Netflix, The Monsters?
Yes, I did.
Started it.
I watched the documentary. I didn't watch the movie. I watched the documentary.
Yeah, the TV movie thing really feels like it was done in the 80s.
Does it?
Yeah, no, it really has a feeling of like Lifetime's look at the Menendez brothers.
Would you let them out if it were up to you? Would you let them out?
Well, they did brutally kill 2 people with shotguns.
But if they were molested,
but still they killed 2 people with shotguns. I mean, I think that goes back to the Luigi thing. I get that your coverage was denied, and I know that you're mad and you're living with chronic pain, and it's horrible, and everybody's getting kind of screwed over by the health industry. Murder's illegal. You can't kill people. It's right. Do something.
Well, it's not like they're getting away with it, though, Blaine. They've done, and I'm not saying they shouldn't get out. I don't know. Yeah. Personally, I don't know. But they served 35 years.
Yeah,
they've served 35 years.
Get your own place is what I'm saying. It's like
they got to move back in with their parents. Oh no! Have you guys ever been killing the 2 people we needed to move back in with? We should have thought this through.
Have you guys actually been to a prison? Like I did a part in the second Venom movie. I played a reporter, and all my scenes were at San Quentin.
Wow!
I spent a couple of days. I spent Valentine's Day at San Quentin. Valentine's Day, and it was the previous Valentine's Day. My girlfriend and I broke up on Valentine's Day. The previous Valentine's Day, my girlfriend and I broke up on that day, and I thought, wow, and now I'm at San Quentin, and this is a better Valentine's Day than last year was. But the oddest thing for me was, I'm single. Yeah, I have
walk up to the biggest, meanest guy in the yard and say, "Will you be my Valentine?"
Now here's the
sit on my
thing.
lap and tell me what you want.
What your toy is.
Whisper.
Here's the weird thing that I can't wrap my head around is that there's a gift shop there. I'm not kidding.
I got a cake with a file in it. This is great.
They should make that.
Oh, I got a big bottle of Pruno.
Like a little candy saw in the middle of the cake. Come on.
Oh, it's adorable.
Blaine, we gotta start this business.
There's literally a gift shop. What do you buy at a gift shop in San Quentin? What are they? Yeah.
Someone killed somebody at a gas station, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
We a long time ago in the state of California voted that we thought that prison should be about punishment as opposed to rehabilitation. And I think that especially with the initiatives that were on the ballot in this state this last time around, that
slave labor.
People, that's how most people continue to think. Do you think that that is a I'm not going to say maybe I should say evolved way of thinking when you're looking at these issues? Is it the job of society and of prison to take the bad apples and clean them up and make them good? And there's some people you have to do you believe that there's some people who are just born evil?
I think some people can't be rehabilitated, but so many can, I mean, so many people just have bad influences to make them do something. It's true.
Yeah.
And they, or circumstances that they don't have any control of if they're poor in some place where they don't know anything else. That happens, and that can be switched up.
Yeah. You're not necessarily evil, but you're only human, Sometimes people can lose their shit pretty bad.
Also, when you're young, you have a different way of looking at life than as you get older and realize that there really are consequences. I mean, if I had been caught for the numerous things I did during high school, my life might have taken a completely different turn because
we got it on tape. Take the shot.
Yeah. I don't know, Matt. What? Just name one. No.
Yeah, tell us one. Statute of limitations is up probably by now.
Oh,
unless you kill somebody, in which case, there's nothing. I can't help you.
Lots of vandalism. A lot of vandalism.
Define vandalism. What? Spray painting, slashing tires?
No, like going in. How about like going into a bunch of condominiums that had just been finished, construction site, going in there and having a party, starting a fire in the fireplace, doing karate kicks through the walls, smashing through a skylight, and then when you hear the cops coming, we would all run because my friend lived in one of the ones that had just been rented. So we'd run into his garage, and we never got caught.
Wow.
That's a comment. That's you're not alone, Matt. I mean, there's like, I want to make you feel a little bit better about the horrifying things you did. Our neighborhood, when they were building new houses, the kids would go in there, and I mean, it was bad, just pure destruction,
Yeah. Yeah, I just played around on a construction site. We had little toy M16s and we would play SWAT. But, I mean, it was with us, it was like, I dare you to jump off that 6-foot wall. Okay, you're on.
That kind of stupid
stuff. We weren't karate kicking holes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
we thought about
it was just drinking. I mean, that's if I think about it, that was just the worst thing. Drinking, using a fake ID, drinking.
Fake ID.
I was explaining. I was explaining to one of my nephews what a drive-in movie was the other day, and how it was always somebody who couldn't afford to go. They charged you per head, so the one who didn't have the money had to come in the trunk of the car while they paid and got
classic.
So that's the kind of worst. That's the worst kind of stuff that my group did.
Here's a fun one. How about me driving my motorcycle with a friend down through the hills of San Francisco in the fog on acid?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Could have ended badly.
Wow. Do you look at stuff? Because I look at things like that, like that. And I didn't do anything like that, but I look at some of the stuff that I did when I was, when you're 18, 19, until I started comedy at 18, and I was like a kid in a candy store. Suddenly I'm like in carded places. Suddenly I'm, all this stuff. But I mean, do you have enough? A lot of things you look back on now from when you were, teens, early 20s, and you thought you were going to live forever, and realize, God, I'm lucky to be alive.
Absolutely.
I can't believe something I did that stupid.
Oh yes. I should be dead. I mean, considering the amount of things I did, there are a very good chance of being killed in a lot of them.
Matt, I wouldn't doubt that you and I were together during some of those times. Like after a night at the Holy City Zoo, who knows what we did? I mean, some of the shit that we did, when you do think about stuff like that, you're like, whoa. If I knew my kid was going to go do that, let's just say something like, hey, I'm going to go take some acid and ride my motorcycle down the street. I'd be like, it's probably not a great idea, but I probably did stuff very similar to that, and I didn't probably, but
where were you when I needed you?
Grace of God,
Yeah. Karen and I would just leave Emerson Street and just go wilding. That was
wilding. That brings back not that I did it. The phrase brings.
Oh, by the way, that reminds me, Brian. What Tom sent us was one of the stories. Was there going to I can't
DC
remember.
The DC story?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
what's going on?
Okay, here's a story. There is a cafe in Washington D.C. called Cafe 8,
District of Columbia.
District of
That's District of Columbia.
Okay, DC. Thank you for interpreting.
Thank you. I just binged it.
It's called Cafe 8, and it's a Mediterranean restaurant and a hookah bar.
Oh, it's not just a cafe.
Not just a cafe. So here's the deal: is that it backs up to, or I guess behind it is a suburban neighborhood, and they've had all kinds of problems with noise, with fights, with the owner was beaten up going to the store a couple of weeks ago, and a few weeks before that, some people tried to come in with guns and were persuaded to go away by security. So they have enacted a policy that you're not allowed to be in there. You're banned after, I think it's 8:30 at night. If you're under the age of 30, you were banned after 8:30 at night. So, and when you look at it, there is no federal protection. It's not considered age discrimination. You're not a protected class, as you would be in hiring, for example, or if you were a senior and that kind of thing. So it may very well be legal and constitutional. It looks like, and they say it's because the young people, those who are in their 20s, are the ones who are causing all the problems. Come in before 8:30, have something to eat, do whatever you want to do, but come 8:30, you cannot get in. So I guess a couple of questions. Number one, do you think it'll make a difference? And do you think that if it's not illegal for a proprietor to do that, that it should be?
Aren't you allowed to let in whoever you want or not let who? Isn't that already?
Well, see, that's the biggest crap that business.
We refuse the right to serve.
Is that legal?
No, it's not, and it means absolutely. You talk to consumer advocates, and they'll tell you it means try it. try to refuse service just arbitrarily. Try not serving somebody just arbitrarily because you put up a sign saying you have the right to.
So they make it look like it's a law, but it's not a law.
No. I mean, that's just a crock. But they'll put that up and point to it, and and there are some who do believe it until they deny someone's service because they don't like the way they look or their hair or the way they talk or whatever, and they find themselves sued out of business.
Well, I think that it's a little ageist. I don't want to be too Gen Z in my terminology, but it's a little ageist. And I think that the people that are under 30, if they're over 18, they're legal adults.
Right.
So that's a kind of an arbitrary distinction. Anyone under 30, I'm going to kick out in case their crystal starts blinking or something. I don't want people blowing up on carousel in my establishment. I got to clean up their
Blaine.
bodies. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, it's like it is a private place, and it's like, hey, if you don't want people with money coming into your establishment and having a good time, well, then that's your right. It's your right as a proprietor to kick out people with their money and their fun and their friends and their customers.
What about their guns, though?
That's I don't know if you've heard, Karen. We live in America. Guns are legal and killing is wrong. Well, you can figure that out however you have to make it. But
what I want to know is, how's the food?
Yeah.
How is the food?
Doesn't say.
Yeah,
Mediterranean. Who doesn't like it?
The food critic is 25 apparently for the Washington Post.
Couldn't get in.
Couldn't get in to have a meal.
Couldn't get a dinner. Is there?
Couldn't get a dinner.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if there's over 55 menus at restaurants, and there's kids under 12 have their kids menu
and crayons on the table.
I think this is a slippery slope to that's going to lead to children being banned on airplanes and restaurants.
And your problem is what? And your problem is what?
I would. It's like why? I mean,
I'm a father of 3, and I'll tell you. And your problem is what? I'll still say that. Kids running around a restaurant. I hate that, but I get the fact that they're kids. I understand kids. No, I'm sorry. I blame Leave them home. I'm sorry.
I blame the parents on that one. I think
obviously. Well, I'm saying that nothing drives me crazier than that. The parents who will bring their 2-year-old or 3-year-old or 4-year-old to a fine dining restaurant, or even to a Denny's got a place, and think that it's cute for them to run from table to table.
Yeah.
And let them around. It's not a playground. Or to the second one is the movies. If it's a kids movie, I'll give you a pass.
Sure.
Or if it's Wicked or something, fine. Knock yourselves out. That's who they're going for. That's demographic. I go there knowing they're going to be children. But I remember seeing the second or the third Matrix film at a midnight opening, and somebody brought an infant to a midnight opening of an R-rated movie who screamed and cried throughout the whole thing. It's just
my kid hated Saturn 3.
Out of the hookup place.
I went to see The Exorcist at a midnight show when they re-released it, and it was a midnight show of The Exorcist at the Chinese theater, and these people brought like a 3 or a 4-year-old kid that was screaming in terror the entire time, and the audience was it had just turned into a free-for-all where they're all like, take your kid home. And what are you doing here? And the parents were defensive and arguing with people. It's like, well, the movie's over for everyone, you guys.
Well, right. Well, and that's always the thing too, is that when you're in a movie theater and someone's talking in front of you or behind you, and they create some sort of disturbance. And there's always that thing where you go like, okay, do I say something? Because in this day and age, if I say something, that means I am going to get in a fight with you. And then the movie's over. So then usually I'll just move to another seat if there's one available. But that's the thing. And that's also why these days I'm a little hesitant to go to movies and theaters. Because
have you ever told somebody? I've told someone to be quiet. I had a row of people behind me at the show. Remember the movie Rudy? I'll never forget it. Rudy, and there was
which is the football movie, the one with Notre Dame. That's great.
I was with my buddy Doug Benson actually, and I was sitting there, and I look back, and there's a large group of people who are just completely talking, and this is before there wasn't like they were looking at their phones, which annoys me now. But they were talking, and I just turn around and I just go, "You guys, come on. Can't we just watch the movie?" And this girl stands up, she looks at me, she goes, "How about you go fuck yourself?" And I go, "All right." All right. So I just skedaddled down to the front row. I just left my seat and just went, "All right, I think I'll just do that." That's how it goes.
And you still have neck problems.
What's that?
You still have neck problems. Sitting up front,
Rudy, crying.
No, I get up. I'll get, if it's really bad. I had a couple incidents like you talked about where I asked people to be quiet. Who were way over the top, and it ended up nothing violent, but it just was an unpleasant experience. I thought, you know what, the manager's paid for this. So I get up.
Right.
I get up and I make sure that I come back with popcorn so they don't know that I was a snitch. They think I just want to get popcorn.
That's the thing. I always think I'm going to get caught by someone if I go to the manager, like at a concert or something or whatever. I have a very, very, very low tolerance for any sort of people speaking in any kind of an audience.
But that happened to me on a plane, though. I was with my wife. We're on, I think, Southwest, and we're flying somewhere. And there's a guy who's got his phone on with no headphones, and that one. And he's, and it seems like it's even getting louder. And so I go to one of the flight attendants and say, "Hey, could you talk to this guy and just tell him to turn his phone off?" And this guy goes over, and the guy's like maybe a row ahead of me on the other side. And the attendant goes to him and points at me and says, "This guy has a problem with your phone."
And did your hair flip like Mr. Weatherby? I'm gonna.
And luckily, the thing de-escalated pretty quickly. The guy actually apologized and said, "I'm sorry, I don't have my headphones. If I turn it down low," I go, "Whatever." Now I'm not mad at you anymore. Now I'm mad at this motherfucker who is trying to get me killed.
I mean,
wow.
I'm just trying to light my shoe bomb, and this guy's phone is going on.
No, really, no respect.
That is an interesting argument. It makes me think of an interesting argument that I've heard recently about how those who are defending people owning AK-47s. They say how many millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people own them and don't shoot up restaurants and don't shoot up schools. Yeah, okay, fine. But one guy tried to light a shoe on fire one time 20 years ago, and everybody's had to take off their shoes ever since. Yeah, you've got all of these people. You got hundreds of people shot and killed, or thousands shot and killed with these weapons every single year. And we should now, look at the statistics. It's not that many people. The one guy trying to light a shoe on, and as a result of that, nobody's been able to wear the shoes till they got through security sets.
Then the underwear bomber came, and I'm still allowed to wear my underwear. Where's the logic there? They should have called him the fruit of kaboom guy.
That's my time, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Paul Anka is coming out.
Paul Anka.
Paul Anka.
Can't believe I'm opening for Paul Anka on a podcast. Been dead for years.
He's not dead.
He's not dead.
He's not? He? Oh my God.
Inside.
I'm thinking of Paul Anka.
Well, that's who
Brian, can we cut that out? Cut that part out.
No, that's too good. That's too good. That's thank you. That's the TikTok clip.
Oh, great.
I appreciate
maybe Paul
that.
Anka is dead.
Have you? Well, see, here's the thing. How many times does it happen to you every year where like you're watching the in memoriam on either the Emmys or the Oscars, and you go, "I thought he was already dead."
Yeah,
that's like somebody who died, and you go,
I read for in memoriam this year.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's down to me and Andy Dick.
Wow. You're such a... Paul Anka's alive.
I thought so. He must be in his 80s, right?
83.
But see,
wow,
that's not one of those ones where it's like when you watch the in memoriam where you go, "Oh, I didn't know that person died." It's more the other thing that I always run into, which is how is that person still alive?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Always the other thing is that's weird is you look at those who are omitted. I can't give you a specific example, but every year there's somebody prominent who is not in the film role.
Yeah, like last year Harrison Ford died and he wasn't in there. And nobody knows he died.
No, that was Indiana Jones.
Oh, what?
That was Indiana Jones 4 that died, wasn't
Indiana Jones died? Let's take a look at that clip.
But they've got obscure grips and people that up there who, again, not that their lives are not as worth as much as somebody else's, but pictures of people who you have no idea who they are, and then there are people who are beloved, there's always somebody who gets left out.
You always got to guess who the one's going to be at the end and really close it out, to make everybody else feel bad that they didn't get the applause that last person got. Like when Barbara Streisand died, right, Blaine?
Right. You can't follow Bobby Slayton. That's what I learned. He's got to go up last.
Who's headlining the in memoriam this year at the Oscars? Who's gonna be the one? Who's gonna headline? We got 2 more weeks. All right. Well, with that, we are out of time. Blaine Capatch, anything you want to plug?
Listen to me on the Nerd Poker podcast. I play Dungeons and Dragons with Brian Posehn and various other nerds. And check me out on Blue Sky, Blaine Capatch.
All right. Good to see you, pal.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Please listen to me and my friends on the Monster Party podcast, where we will sit for hours and argue about things, all of them very nerdy. So, yeah.
You got to have me on that, by the way.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you, Blaine, too. And Karen,
I'd love to.
I can give you some things to study and, you can come on.
I used to play Dungeons and Dragons if it helps.
You're in.
Holy shit.
You're in.
See, I never played D&D, but all the other nerd comic books and all the other nerd stuff, Star Trek.
It stands for District of Columbia. District of Columbia.
There's a reason the Big Bang Theory ran for as many years as it ran, for 11 years.
This is true.
It's because there are a lot of us, and I felt safe coming out of the closet thanks to Sheldon Cooper.
Yeah, but we got in early. We did the tough work. We were the nerds who had to suffer through the slings and arrows.
We were the civil rights era. The civil rights era nerds. That's was us.
That's right.
The ones.
Yeah.
We were the ones. We got wedgies so this generation didn't have to. We got crammed into lockers so this generation could be free and could come out and proclaim their love of Star Wars.
Try wearing a Starfleet outfit to prom and see.
It's real.
Yeah, it's got to be real knowing Matt.
That's real. But I will tell you, he has the best original Kirk costume I've ever seen. The best original Captain Kirk uniform I've ever seen. Probably now with cosplay, there's probably better ones.
Yeah, well, now, right.
Now,
but I was the first one to get the velour.
Ooh,
but that was a hard one to find. But I had a person,
I'll tell you, sorry, and actually, I'll let Karen do her plug it. I'll tell you the story. We have to debate whether or not I'm going to tell it.
You can see me on the pickleball court. That's about it right now.
So you're taking it easy, you're putting your foot up, and
a little bit. I wrote a movie. We'll see what happens.
Yay!
Good. Keep me in mind. I'm looking forward.
I do excellent catering, so just please.
Okay, so here's a story that I think that you would like, Matt. About 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I hosted a show out of San Francisco. It's an afternoon show for ABC7 called 7 Live, and had a live studio audience, and people coming through town to plug things or promote things. I really don't know if I should be telling the story or not. I'm going to tell.
Oh, yes, please.
All right. So the head of programming there is a huge original Star Trek fan, just like me. I like the original series. I'm not in all this. I mean, I've seen a half a dozen or so of the Next Generation, and one here and there, and I've seen the movie. But I'm still the original series is it.
Okay, fair enough.
So all right. So he's a huge fan like I am. So Shatner comes to town to do. He had a one-man show, and they were trying to book him on with us. And I would love to meet Shatner, but we had to talk about it because there are some stories that I've heard about it. And again, I don't know if they're true or not, but I've heard enough stories about him being not always the nicest person.
Sure. Right.
And so we had to decide, do we want to have him on and risk it? Because it would ruin Captain Kirk for us if he comes on and he's an asshole.
Yes.
So should we have him on or should we not? And we voted not to. We decided not to, specifically just for that reason. Which now, in hindsight, again, I wish I had done it, and because it's unfair. It is rumor. I don't know if they're true or if they're not, but there's enough of them that I've heard. Being rude,
sure.
Make it people or staff or whatever that it's and so for that reason we declined.
I get that. That's why whenever I meet anyone that's one of my heroes, it's like I just want to get in and get out. Like, hi, I love you, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked on the Martin Short talk show back in '99, and he had great guests on. It was a lot of fun. But Steve Martin was one of the guests. And I used to lip sync "Let's Get Small" in my basement, and I had a shirt with "Best Fishes" on it. And I love Steve Martin so much I didn't want to go near him. I saw him down a hallway and I ran. He was the only guy I didn't want to meet because I didn't want to either blow it or have it blown for me.
Now, see, I've heard nothing but lovely stories about him.
I know.
I met him. I've heard nothing but great stories about him.
I had one good. I used to work on a TV show. She was a woman who's been canceled. Her name's Ellen. And the warm-up act couldn't make it that day. So I had to be the warm-up act in the audience. And part of that job is to throw T-shirts all over if someone dances. So, or they do something, Right. So Steve Martin was a guest, and I'm like you, Blaine. I was all the albums. My parents
it's like a beat. He's like a
boarding
Beatle.
house, and I cried because I couldn't go. It was like big time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was a wreck. I was like, Jesus, I can't believe I'm going to be in the audience during these breaks with Steve Martin's on stage, And so anyway, I was throwing T-shirts, and apparently the person who does it throws about maybe 4 or 5 T-shirts out throughout the show, maybe 6, 7. I threw out like 24 T-shirts. That's how nervous I was. I was just like throwing them. Okay, everybody. I didn't know what I was doing. So Steve Martin gets up in the break and he juggles for Ellen. And he just does, I'm going to juggle. So I threw a T-shirt at him. And he totally cracked up. And I was like, I was a wreck, but it was one of the most biggest highlights of my entire life. Was that
you made Steve Martin laugh?
Yeah.
You brought it up. So I'm going to ask you. I don't want to put you on the spot. Okay, so if you don't want to answer this, don't. Okay, Karen.
Me?
You.
Oh,
yes. I do not want to put you on the spot. So if you don't want to answer this, don't. I'll cut it out.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ellen. You mentioned her being canceled. You worked for her for a long time. You wrote for her for a long. You wrote and produced, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked for her but it was I started with her before the show a little bit, and then I did work for her for like 7 years. Yeah.
Okay. In your opinion, and again, you don't have to answer this. Do you think she's been treated fairly?
She did not. What? Oh, do I treat fairly? Here's the thing. When you work on a ton of shows, and everybody here has, they're all complicit in some way for any bad behavior that goes on in these shows. And there's bad behavior on every show. And what I would say to her about her is I think she just looked the other way and she didn't have anyone's back is what it was. So for somebody who's supposed to be like this loyal sort of like, most giving person on earth, and I know her quite well, is I think that she looks the other way and just moves on. And so whatever happens during that time, and there was some bad behavior at that show, she did not act like she had any responsibility whatsoever for it. So take a little bit,
So was there toxic environment there when you were there?
Oh yeah. There's every show.
Wow,
every show's awful. Let's face it.
I've only done, in terms of regular everyday work. I mean, I've done guest spots on national stuff, but most of the everyday things I've hosted, they've been things in the San Francisco market. It's a major media market, but it's still local.
Especially when it goes.
And some have not.
But when it starts to get successful, there's going to be backstabbing going on everywhere. And anybody who is a high level producer is going to want to protect their job in any way possible. And it's a big bummer.
Okay. without naming any names, tell me the worst thing you can think of that you've seen. Without naming any names or any show, what's the worst thing you've seen?
Blaming people for something that you're responsible for and then making them take the fall. That happens a lot.
So screwing something up and throwing somebody innocent under the bus.
Absolutely. All the time. It's wild.
I saw Carlos Mencia work Rip Taylor over with a length of pipe once.
Where did Carlos get the pipe? Where did Carlos get the pipe from?
Got it from
Did Rip Taylor just throw confetti back at him?
Yeah. Oh my God, this is it. This is it. I'm coming to meet you, Elizabeth.
Did he blame somebody else though?
Yeah.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Can I when we're talking about the celebrities, I just need to tell you this because I think that you will find this especially amusing.
Okay.
But we all did Alex Bennett back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
On Live 105.
Alex Bennett was for those outside of the San Francisco market, our demographic was kind of the Alan Freed of comedy here in the 80s in San Francisco. Yeah. Anybody who was anybody did his show, and a number of broke, at least locally.
Helped us all.
I was a regular.
Love doing it.
For 5 years, once a week, I did it.
It was a great time. And it got to be, there got to be a point when there were certain guests that would come and they would go like, oh, they call me because it was right up my alley. And so one week it was Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, I was there. I have the picture. You and I were the guests. Yeah, and my oldest son was 2 at the time, and there's a picture I've got of Christopher Reeve holding my son in a Superman costume.
Yes.
Wow.
When he was 2 years old.
He's holding Matt in Superman costume one time.
Well, on the other hand.
Well, Karen, I am not always the smartest person ever. And so
let's take a look at that clip.
Yeah, I wish I had the clip because I thought it would be a great idea as a fun joke because it's radio and it's comedy that I was going to show up in a Batman costume.
You did. That's right.
And I show up in a Batman costume. And in my mind, I'm playing this scenario, this fantasy scenario in my head that he's going to go, oh, that's hilarious. And I walk in, it's the full thing. It's like Batman from the 80s movies costume. Yep. I've got everything. And I walk in and he sees me and he gives me a look like, he wants to jab my eyes out because that's like the only thing he can get to. And he is so fucking pissed off. And I feel it. You feel like the vibes of pure hatred. And I ran and took this thing off as fast as I could to then come back and pretend that was somebody else.
Was your secret identity.
Yeah. But I always thought he suspected. And throughout that interview, he kept referring to me like, it's just, when people like that guy that was here, when they, don't treat you with respect, which was the last thing in the world that I was trying to do. I thought it'd be, hey, we're all having fun. It's a comedy. No. Oh, and I should have known. I should have known better.
Oh, I should have.
And you were there.
I completely forgot about that. Oh my God.
I needed to bring it up.
That's right. Oh my God. Because he was kind of like touchy That he was in town. He was in town to do love letters. With Julie Haggerty. Remember that name?
Wow.
From
Airplane.
She was funny, and from Modern Romance. Or no,
Modern Romance, genius.
Well, that's what he was in town for, and yeah, he was a little testy during that interview.
And I didn't make it any better. So I just want to all the people that listened in and to Christopher Reeve's memory. Sorry.
The documentary's good, by the way. See the documentary.
Oh, okay.
It should win Oscars. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. If it doesn't, hey, it's really, yes.
I'm there.
Can I say Alex Bennett was a real tech guy? He was always on the cutting edge of whatever the new tech thing was.
Yeah.
And not only did he the first time I ever saw anything on the internet was at Breakfast with Bennett, and he brought in he showed me a guy fucking a chicken. And it was on a laptop the size of a Ford Torino hood.
So that's why he crossed the road.
Yeah, it was just like, the first thing I ever saw on the internet, a guy fucking a chicken, and everybody was gathered around like it was like cavemen in 2001. Just, oh my god, look at this monolith.
And now your chicken fucking videos don't stand out anymore. It's you're just another one in the crowd.
Just a hat on a hat at this point.
And I want to thank you guys for making sure that Disney never picks up this podcast. Thank you. I much
or
appreciate
McDonald's.
It. I'm going to leave with this. We're talking about celebrities and bad behavior. And I'm going to name drop. I was in a conversation with Robin Williams once, and I forget how it came up. And we were talking about Christopher Reeve, as a matter of fact. And how could now Christopher, because they were best friends. They were
roommates. Yeah.
Juilliard. They were roommates at Juilliard. And in fact, in the documentary, Glenn Close says that if Christopher Reeve had not died, Robin would never have killed himself. He says that in the documentary. Yeah. Wow. If that's how close they were. And what Robin said that when he first broke, he was not ready for the, all the adulation that came his way. And it was Bruce Springsteen, he said, who told him that the average fan encounter will last 45 seconds. You can be nice to anyone for 45 seconds. Sure. And, and if you're nice for that 45 seconds, they're going to tell 10 people that you were nice. If you're an asshole, during that 45 seconds, they're going to tell 100 people that they met you and you were an asshole. Mm. But 45 seconds is the average fan encounter, and you can be nice to any. You can put up with any knucklehead in a Batman suit.
Thank you, Brian.
For 45 seconds. I so forgot you did that.
I didn't show up as Zod. Come on.
Blaine Capatch, Matt Weinhold, Karen Anderson. This has been a ball. You guys do this again. Will you come back?
Please.
Love to. Thank you, Brian.
I would love to have you.
Nice to see you, boys.
Good to see you guys.
I will see you all next week. If you like the podcast, there are a couple of ways you can support us. Well, first thing is to tell anybody you know, any way that you possibly can. Yes, I see a hand.
Oh, no, I'm just numbering them as you say them.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, okay. That's the first thing. 1, tell anybody any way you possibly can. 2, there you go. 2. I'm on Sesame Street. This is wonderful. 2, and that is to share the link. And the third thing you can do is to give us a 5-star review. Go to iTunes and Spotify, wherever, and give us a 5-star review. That helps people to find the show. If you're watching us and the YouTube version, if you would subscribe, that would be great. We get a couple more subscribers, we can do this live. So we can actually, right now we record on Wednesday, drop on Thursday. If we can do this live, we can have you interact with us what the hell do we do? What the hell did we just do for the last 90 minutes? Anyway, thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.